Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 653 for the 18th of April 2021. Richard Saunders coming to you from Sydney, Australia. Let's look out the Skeptic Zone window. Blue sky, but not hot. Quite nice weather today. Maybe it's a good day for a stroll. And the other day, I took a stroll down King Street, Newtown. Now, Newtown is an inner city suburb here in Sydney, known for its spectacular range of restaurants, my goodness me, of everything and anything you can get down King Street. And it's also known for, well, I guess it prides itself on being a bit edgy, alternative, trendy, whatever that means. And you can find quite a selection of what should we say, new age, alternative type stores down King Street. So at the top of the show, join me as I wander the length of King Street, stopping and having a look at all the new age and alternative stores I find along the way. Following that, I go to another suburb here in Sydney, not very far from King Street, Newtown, the suburb of Glebe, to Glee Books, where I attended the launch of Fake Medicine, the new book by Dr. Brad MacKay. You might remember a couple of weeks ago, Maynard interviewed Dr. Brad about his book. Well, the book has finally been officially launched, and I, along with a room full of people, including members of the Australian Skeptics, attended the book launch. So we have a little bit of the launch. I get to ask a question of Dr. Brad from the audience, and then join Skeptics President Jessica Singer and committee members Josh Godby and our friend Lara Benham from the committee, and who you've heard on the show many times before, as we have a nice drink afterwards to discuss the book launch. Then to round off the show, once again we go into the Trove archives, and this week we are looking up references in Australian newspapers of the past to the term telekinesis, which is of course the claimed ability to move matter with the power of your mind. And I noticed that school is just to go back. School vacation time is over for students and for teachers. Spare a thought for teachers who are going back to work next week. Teachers in all sorts of schools, from the public education system to private schools to schools that teach languages. And I think we all should have great respect for the work teachers do. I know it's certainly not an easy job. Stay tuned at the end of the show for more announcements from me. But now it's time for me to run downstairs and have one of my once in a while sort of meals. And you might like this or you may not. May get a tablespoon of peanut butter, mix up a little bit of soy sauce, and then add some wasabi. Mix that all in together. Cook up some rice and have that mixed up. So rice, peanut butter, wasabi sauce and soy sauce. No, it does taste good, I promise. While I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. You find me on a bus, a government bus, heading into the city, more or less towards the city from where I live, in one of the inner suburbs. And this bus will take me to King Street, Newtown. Now, a couple of years ago on the Skeptic Zone, I took a wander down Telegraph Road in Berkeley and stopped and had a look at some of these strange stores and businesses I found along the way. And, well, we have a similar situation here in Sydney, in Newtown. King Street is famous for its, well, alternative stores. I expect to find some crystal stores, some alternative medicine shops, healing vaguely stores, something like that. Anyway, off I go, and we'll discover what, shall we say, interesting stores are in store. Well, the buses drop me off here in King Street, Newtown, right at the northern end. In fact, if I look up towards the north, I can see quite a few of the skyscrapers of downtown Sydney. So, I am now entering Newtown, walking in a southerly direction, down the length of King Street, which is about, 3 kilometres, 4 kilometres, something like that. Very busy. Newtown, King Street is a major artery coming into the city from the south. So you get lots of traffic this time of day, which is nearly 9 o'clock. Lots of heavy trucks and things like that. It's worth remembering too that just about a kilometre up to the north along this road you'll find the University of Sydney. So lots of students can be around this area, and King Street is also famous for its incredible range of excellent cafes and restaurants. First landmark I'm passing is sadly no longer there. The building is Gould's Bookstore, and lots of Sydney-siders will well remember Gould's Bookstore. It's one of the most amazing second-hand bookstores in Sydney. Thousands of books piled everywhere, and over the years I've discovered quite a few good it's busy now. Some very good books to do with metaphysics and astrology and tarot cards and all the rest of it. And now, not far past Gould's Bookstore, we come to our first store here, our first business, the Natural Medicine Clinic. General internal medicine, it says, pain management, gynecology, dermatology, soft tissue industry, herbal formula, acupuncture, remedial massage, electromagnetic therapy, major health funds and work cover rebate. It's closed, but if I look into the window, it looks like the typical a typical Chinese medicine shop with lots of jars of pills. Actually, they're all opaque. It's interesting. So there we are, the first one. What's it say out here? Chinese herbal medicine, classical acupuncture, physical medicine, and the doctors are F.S. Chen and J. Wu, who seem to have lots of degrees in natural therapies and things like that. A master in acupuncture? Okay. As I said before, one of the things I love about King Street, Newtown, not the noisy buses, are the number of restaurants, and they've got a lot of Thai restaurants here. Now here's one I haven't seen before. Wallabies Thai. Wallabies Thai? I've seen ones here called Tie Me Down, Thai Bomb, things like that, but it's all good. Now you might remember a couple of weeks ago we had Dr. Siobhan Sutherland on the show talking about her journey with ovarian cancer, and I'm just at the corner of Missenden Road, and down Missenden Road is the Chris O'Brien Lifehouse near the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, and that's where she's been going for her chemotherapy. Quite a well-known landmark here in Sydney, the Royal Prince Alfred. Okay, a little further down and we come across Nature's Energy, Acupuncture, Massage, Beauty, Crystals, Tarot and Waxing. And it's not open at the moment, but if I look inside the big window here, I can see lots of crystals on display. And booked today, it says, for it would appear to be a spa treatment. Sounds nice. And what's this? We have an advertising here. Tarot and psychic life path readings and hypnotic healings with Karen. With a picture of a beaming Karen. Karen combines tarot cards, psychic insight and life path charts to connect with, as the bus goes by, to connect with who you are, where you're at, and what you'll encounter going forward. Just provide your first name and date of birth, or that of someone else, to receive an in-depth understanding of your past, present and future. My goodness me, that's a hell of a claim. Hypnotic energy healing using your life path charts to bring deep therapeutic change. Right. Oh, bring your phone to record your session. That's tempting. Karen has been reading tarot cards since 1996 and has worked as a reader in Australia, the UK and the USA. She is psychic and clairaudient, hearing, sensing, and is also a qualified clinical hypnotist, NLP counselor, neuro-linguistic programming, life coach and parapsychologist. Wow. Karen's life path readings and healings bring clarity and confidence. Discover more about yourself, your future, and how to make the most of it. Goodness me, that sounds too good to be true. And I come around the corner here to the side window, and it's lots of jewellery and crystals and things like that. Rose quartz, it says, love, forgiveness, self-love, chakra, heart chakra, zodiac, Taurus and Libra, planet Venus, element, earth and water, next to a book that says Goddess Wisdom. And the next one we come across is a store called Mineralism, just down not far from the previous one. And again, it looks like much the same thing. There's lots of tarot cards. Lots of tarot cards I can see in the store. The store's shut at the moment. Giant crystals in the window here, big crystals, more tarot cards, flowers, that sort of stuff. It looks primarily like a crystal shop for those who want to buy healing crystals. So-called healing crystals. And magic, spelt with a K, so M-A-G-I-C-K. Walking down, I'm passing various chemist shops, and they must get a dishonourable mention because all of them, if you go inside, you'll be able to find things like homeopathy and other things that simply don't work. I'm outside the little door here of naturopath and an angry motorist. Naturopath, it says, holistic treatment for all health conditions. That's a big claim. Naturopathic, herbal and nutritional medicine, remedial massage, it says. Andrew James Healing Centre, experienced and professional service. Naturopathic treatment for acne, eczema and psoriasis. Making my way towards the train station and the town hall, which is a very central part of Newtown, coming up to Dr. Earth. And in the old days we would have called this a health food shop. So they sell lots of vitamins and supplements and things that, I don't know, claim all sorts of wonderful things. But I think I'm right in remembering that when the power band wristbands were at their height in 2008, 2009, that chain, Dr. Earth, were selling them. And indeed, Choice magazine to test one, bought a power balance wristband from Dr. Earth, and as part of their testing they took it back to get their money back, and the people at Dr. Earth then proceeded to test it to make sure it didn't work. We come to another crystal shop not far from the train station, Crystal Arcana it says, and it's shut again, unfortunately. Peering through, much like the other ones, there must be a lot of money in these crystals, and it seems all of them also sell a multitude of tarot cards. So in the window here, apart from crystals, we have about 7 different packs of tarot cards. I guess one is better than the other, I don't know. And lots of crystals on display, with an interesting sign as the trucks go by and the bus. Good dogs welcome. Any damage, any breakages must be paid for by pets or humans. I'm now at the halfway point. I've reached the town hall, which is opposite the train station here in the suburb of Newtown, where I cross over King Street to continue on the other side of King Street. The road forks, so I have to head across to the other side. And the southern side of King Street, or the southern end, is considered to be the less, what should we say, fashionable. It's a little bit more quiet, but nevertheless interesting. And of course the restaurants never end. And we find something I haven't noticed before. It says Dr. Hemp, your one-stop hemp and mushroom store. Fresh food, drinks, Dr. Hempire Gift Gallery. Looks like smoking paraphernalia, I guess. And here I am at the Happy Herb store, which used to be called the Happy High Herb store. And it sells, I've actually never been in there, but I've seen it. They can turn up at Mind Body Spirit, Wine Body Wallet festivals and something. In the window it says Herb of the Week, linden flowers, a calming, uplifting effect when drunk as a tea, a relaxing and gentle, commonly used for insomnia, anxiety, muscle tension and emotional unrest. Ooh. And here's a sign in the window that says support your immunity. I bet they don't mean by vaccination. And a sign here, relax your body, calm your mind, sound healing meditation, restorative relaxation for mental, physical and emotional health, Wednesdays, online on Zoom. There you go. Gongs, singing bowls and voices. But you know, it could be very relaxing. And also a little ad here for 9 Lives Tarot, intuitive tarot readings, sage advice, mediumship. Now it's interesting, I'm passing a restaurant here called Lentil as Anything, which I think is a Krishna restaurant. I've eaten there a few times. It's just no nonsense vegan food, and then at the end you pay what you consider it's worth. The further we go south, the further we get into the territory of curiosity stores, which sell all sorts of things that, wow, it's noisy, which maybe somebody found under their grandmother's bed or in their cupboard or something like that. But don't get me wrong, it's fantastic stuff. It's really interesting curiosities, mostly from last century. Now I'm outside the Kundalini Sound and Herbal Therapy store. Gift vouchers available, and the window is full of not healing bowls, singing bowls. They sound quite nice actually, I've heard them before. And if I look inside the wall here, on the wall through the window, there must be about 40 healing bowls all stacked and displayed. And little bottles of some sort of potion or pills as well. And yes, the singing bowls actually do sound nice. There's no doubt about it. They can be very relaxing to sit back and listen to. here we are at the Chinese massage. It looks a bit faded. The facade here has been faded by the sun over the years. There are posters in the wall of acupuncture points, which is faded to blue. Interesting. But yeah, there's a couple of posters here which must have been in that window for years and years and years. And also we have a chart of the foot reflexive zones. And you'll be pleased to know that the eyes are located on your second and third toe. Your ear is on your little toe. And the heart is in the middle of the foot to the left. What's that thing? The kidney is right in the middle of the foot. And of course, your sciatic nerve is on the heel. Just so you know. It's nice to know that down this end, and I'm nearly at the end now, there's a sort of reincarnation of the Gould's second-hand bookstore. It's much smaller, but at least they still have a presence, and that's a good thing to see. I wonder what happened to the thousands upon thousands of books that they had stacked up in the old Gould's bookstore. Now we've come to the end of the King Street adventure. Down this side street now where it's nice and quiet, just near St. Peter's train station. Might take a train home. I wonder where you live, if you live in or near a big city. I wonder if you have a King Street Newtown, a place that considers itself to be a bit alternative, a bit hip. With some birds. And you too might discover some interesting alternative shops and crystal healing and naturopaths and tarot cards and things like that. Always worth a look. And I think it's a good idea for any skeptic once in a while to walk around and see what the other side are doing.
This is Heidi Robertson from the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters. We are a group of concerned citizens dedicated to promoting good science and common sense in our region, the far north coast of New South Wales. This area, famous for its natural beauty and relaxed lifestyle, also has the lowest rates of vaccination in Australia. We are out to change that by challenging the myths and misinformation and by providing good evidence-based information to the community. We'd love for you, no matter where you are in the world, to join our fight. Please visit our webpage at www.nrvs.info. We also have a link there to our Facebook page. Tweet us at NRVaxSupporters, that's VAX, and check us out on Wikipedia by searching for Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters. Thank you.
A couple of weeks ago on the show, you will remember Maynard interviewed Dr. Brad MacKay. It was a 3-part interview about Dr. Brad's new book, Fake Medicine, exposing the wellness craze, cons and quacks costing us our health, published by Hatchet Australia. And reading from the first page here, Dr. Brad is an Australian science communicator, TV host and GP at his clinic in Sydney. He is an experienced broadcaster, interviewer and public commentator, appearing regularly on TV and radio, including as a host of ABC's Catalyst and a regular commentator on The Today Show and presenting several medical podcasts for health professionals. He is also on the editorial board of the Medicine Republic magazine. Brad has hosted the Logie-nominated Embarrassing Bodies Down Under, a show dedicated to decreasing stigma and raising awareness of traditionally taboo health topics. He is a member of the Immunisation Coalition and an ambassador for the Immunisation Foundation and the Stroke Foundation, and I will add to that, he is also a committee member of the Australian Skeptics. It was my pleasure, along with a room full of people, in fact there was standing room only, on the evening of Friday the 16th of April to attend the book launch of Fake Medicine, where Dr. Brad was interviewed by noted journalist and broadcaster Stan Grant.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for one more. Yes, we do.
Thanks. Yeah, Dr. Brad, Stan. Richard Saunders here from the Australian Skeptics and the Skeptic Zone podcast, hence the two microphones. Brad, a couple of... It must be in stereo. Brad, a couple of years ago, you came with us to the Festival of Mind, Body, Spirit down in Darling Harbour, and I noticed they're back again next month. And we spent a very interesting afternoon going around to all the displays and what have you. But one thing that I'd like to get your thoughts and opinions on was something I know you saw, which was the Metatron. And this was a device, a computer, which could scan you down to the level of DNA and then send zaps through your body to zap these little viruses and stuff. And my question is, are you surprised this sort of thing is simply allowed to go on? Where's the regulation?
You sound skeptical.
Well, I think Iran was wearing the machine at the time that we were there. So did you feel any different after you had your treatment, Iran?
It was $125 later.
$125 lighter. Oh my God! So that's how they make their money. But yeah, like I think I'm always surprised that people believe it. And I like looking at the monitor, and it's sort of like got a picture of a body, and then it like dives in, and then you're like seeing like an organ, and then it dives in again, and then you see like a cell, and then it dives in again, and then you see DNA twisting around on the monitor. Like it was just like I was back in the 80s. Terrible graphics. I don't know why people would believe that you were able to sort of like target a particular parasite in your gut from having these wires like placed on your head or on your hands. But I think people see something medical. They see something with wires, and if people aren't health literate, then it's easy to believe that. And if you go away with the placebo effect, if you believe that it's going to be working, that your gut is now better, then your gut probably will be better for a while because of the placebo effect. So you may feel like you've invested your $125 and that is money well worth spent. And so then you're also finding that value from the treatment that you've had, which is totally fake. So I think it's terrible. I think there's another festival that's going around as well. I haven't talked to you about this, Richard, but it's called the Mind, Body, Psychic Festival.
Ooh.
So that's probably another avenue to go down as well. But yeah, that's sort of the thing that gets me mad when people are spending their hard-earned cash.
The Writers' Festival's coming. There's a few charlatans there as well. I may be among them. Thank you so much, Brad. Any other questions you may have for Brad? He's available for private consultations and may even bulk bill. Brad, it's a fantastic thing to write a book. It's a real accomplishment, and the book is interesting on so many levels, and your honesty and vulnerability and empathy has only just increased the intimacy of the power of the book as well. I really mean it. It is a fantastic achievement to do that. To look at that on the shelf and know that you have done that, congratulations to you. And I'm still going to take turmeric for my arthritis. And I may still pop a vitamin pill tomorrow, but when you get to my age, 58, anything I can get back.
Still, my book hasn't worked yet.
Yes,
so that's still pretty much right.
I may even pray. Thank you all for coming, Brad. Thank you.
After the book launch, some of us found ourselves, strangely enough, in a bar for a nice drink. Joining me were Skeptic's president, Jessica Singer, and committee members Josh Godby and Lara Benham.
Tell us about the chapter that you're in.
I'm not in a chapter. I reviewed the quackery chapter, and I just said, look, maybe this line, maybe that, or this is a good point, or that's a good point. That's much my contributions to the book, but I've yet to read the rest of the book. I only got my copy last week.
Yes, well, fellow committee member Martin Hadley proofed the whole thing. He did. I read and did a little critique of the sexist medicine chapter, which Dr. Brad was touchingly grateful about. I didn't think I'd made much of a contribution, but he was very sweet about it. But but kudos to Martin for proofing the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not surprised. He's the sort of guy who
So there's someone who's read it all.
Someone who's read it all. Josh, did you get a copy?
I got a copy tonight, indeed I did. I have not read it because I legitimately bought my copy tonight. I've read one page. It just so happens to be the thank you page.
No, it's great. I mean, Dr. Brad's written his first book. I mean, we've known Brad now for a number of years. He's been on the committee, and we all have the highest opinion of Dr. Brad. So I think it's a terrific thing. So, folks, I'll link to where you can buy your own copy in this week's show notes, but I think we can all, even though some of us haven't thoroughly read it, I think we can thoroughly recommend it.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to reading it.
Yes, we are.
I've read chapter 1.
You've read all I can say now is cheers, everybody. Thank you. Cheers.
Hi there, I'm Abhijit and I host the Berationable podcast on Berationable.com. Every couple of weeks, I science the hell out of alternative medicines, health and nutrition fads, social media forwards, science news, and lots more. Of course, you can find all of my articles, podcast episodes, and lots more on www.berationable.com. See you there, and until then, always be rationable.
It's time once again to dive into the treasure trove at trove.nla.gov.au, the online resource from the Australian Government and the National Library of Australia, free for you to wander around and search the digital archive of magazines, journals, periodicals, and so on, dating back decades and decades, and indeed centuries. Now, it might interest you to know that during the time we've had this segment, over the past 4 or 5 months or so, maybe 4 months, the topics we've investigated have been, in no particular order, debunking, superstitions, Harry Houdini, the bent spoon, Carl Sagan, biorhythms, clairvoyance, Into the Unknown, which was about testing of paranormal power in the late 1940s, astrology, Yowies, Uri Geller, water divining, UFOs, the Australian Skeptics, James Randi, Ouija board, Loch Ness Monster, ESP, quackery, and haunted house. And this week I thought we'd look for references to the term telekinesis. And according to an online dictionary, which is the first return when doing a search with Google, telekinesis, noun, the supposed ability to move objects at a distance by mental power or other non-physical means. When I think of telekinesis, and maybe some of you may remember the show My Favorite Martian, the character Uncle Martin could point his finger at an object and raise it in the air and float it around the room and so forth. Moving objects at a distance. The first reference, an early reference that we come across to this term, comes to us from the Daily News from Perth, Western Australia, dated the 1st of May 1918. Spirit influence. A Strange Story, recorded by Gowler Press. On Sunday evening, March 10, there were further manifestations of spirit influences in the home of Mr. Benjamin Milton of Growler South, writes an Adelaide paper. The police were immediately informed of the happening, but the result of their inquiry was not made available until this week. Mr. Milton, after the previous visitation, removed the boy from the environment on the advice of Dr. Dawes, and, strange as it may seem, the phenomena ceased. As the lad, however, was not attending school, the education department asked for his return. Mr. Milton, perforce, brought the boy home, and the little fellow seemed much better for his holiday. That Saturday evening he was put in his bed, and within a few seconds was violently propelled upwards and fell to the floor. His parents essayed to put him to bed a second time, and the lad was again pitched out. Later that week, a police inquiry was made. A detective arrived from the city, accompanied by Sister Lily Lingwood Smith, a Christian spiritual evangelist. They, in company with the local police, went to the home of Mr. Milton, and Sister Smith, from the few inquiries made, was satisfied that there was an unconscious medium in the home. The little fellow was taken and placed in his bed, a stretcher, and immediately was thrown out into the lady's arms. A second trial was made with a similar result. Mounted Constable Crowhurst then tested the bed and felt a distinct movement. Sister Smith invoked the aid of the spirits, and communication was effected with the astral plane. She could not discover the origin of the manifestations. However, although it was made plain that the girl in the home was the unconscious medium, and that so long as she remained in the environment, the phenomena would continue, provided there was a sympathetic spirit like the boy as a go-between. The rappings were insistent, but the information gleaned was of no service in elucidating the trouble. The lady spiritualist was positive that her summaries were correct, and since the removal of the children to another home, no further manifestations have taken place. This mysterious power that has shown itself is designated telekinesis, a force able to move material things without visible or tangible contact. Telekinesis, it is said, was first manifested in America in 1848, when a family named Fox were troubled by inexplicable movings of furniture and rappings. The Gowler incident was kept so quiet on the second occasion that the general public had no knowledge of its reoccurrence. Otherwise, there would have been much public curiosity, as the phenomena created great interest in the town. Every time I read these accounts of these strange happenings from many years ago, I sort of wish I could have been there to see what was really going on. And now we come to the Sunday Times, published in Sydney on the 16th of December, 1906. Resolution of Spiritualists. The Grand Council of Spiritualists Associations of New South Wales has forwarded to the Sunday Times a copy of resolutions passed by them, which include the following: that this Grand Council take immediate steps to suppress the public or private use of the term spiritualist or spiritualism in the case of so-called mediums, spirit healers, or persons who are merely fortune-tellers, card cup, crystal or planet readers, palmists, persons of ill repute, charm-mongers, or those who give advice in abortion, cause disruptions between married and unmarried persons by pretended messages from excarnate spirits, or in any way attempt to abrogate the reason of the sitter or investigator by suggestions that tend to influence or destroy the character of the sitter's or investigator's judgment. That this Grand Council recognizes the phenomenon of clairvoyance, trance, telepathy, telekinesis, psychometry, automatic writing, hypnotism, occultism, and psychic activity generally as innate or acquired powers which may or may not be due to the control, influence, or direction of excarnate spirits, and warns all persons that only those holding the certificate of the Grand Council can be regarded as genuine exponents of the activities of the excarnate. So, there. And what year was that again? 1906. And now we come to the year 1922. The Sun, published in Sydney, Monday the 8th of May. Arm in arm with Ghost. Mysterious ectoplasm. Sydney doctors' views, mediums and materializations. It crawls out of your mouth like a snake of slow white smoke. It is hair, it is skin, it is bone. It is set of teeth champing by themselves in the atmosphere. It is a fat white finger scratching your palm and sliding into your pockets. It is ectoplasm. And before we read on, this is quite fun because, you start looking for one term, in this case telekinesis, but you never know what the articles are going to present, what you're going to find. All sorts of interesting things. Who's afraid of ectoplasm? Next time you see an elongated white sausage ballooning out of someone's mouth, there is no need to scream for help or lock the cellar. It is merely ectoplasm, and Mr. Horace Leaf has just arrived in Sydney to tell us all about it. Mr. Leaf presents the whole of the spiritualist movement in Great Britain, and by arrangement with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, is to lecture in Sydney on Wednesday night on the mediums, materializations, telekinesis, ectoplasm, and miscellaneous ghosts. Previous to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's tour of Australia, he wanted me to accompany him, said Mr. X. Leaf in a special interview for, quote, The Sun, end quote, today. This was not possible at the time, but when Sir Arthur returned to England, he asked me to visit Australia to lecture on the latest spiritual developments. So I arranged to come out in the special capacity of representative of all the spiritualist movements in the United Kingdom and of all the societies connected with psychical research. My particular work is to present 2 lantern lectures. Ghosts. The first deals with the materialization of ghosts in solid form and is a world-famous paper which I have delivered by special request before various learned societies. It is particularly noteworthy because it includes the whole of the remaining photographs taken by the late Sir William Crookes in connection with the series of experimental seances held by him as long ago as 1890. These pictures were practically withheld from the public until a few months before his death, when they passed into my possession. Some of them show the famous scientist standing arm in arm with a materialized form which gave the name of Katie King. Floating in air. Many of the photographs I am going to show were taken by eminent scientists on the continent and depict ectoplasm, the substance from which the materialized forms are made, including from the medium's bodies and actually in the process of formation into human organisms. Many of the pictures were taken in connection with experiments made by Dr. Cendric Notzing, Professor Reichert, and here the text is very faint. I think it's M. Camille Flammarion. It's very hard to read the text. The famous astronomer, all of which research was regarded as amongst the most important spiritualistic work ever done. I shall also give a lecture illustrating the phenomenon of telekinesis, which means the levitation of objects in the air. Amongst the photographs depicting this will be the only ones ever taken of a levitating human being under perfect scientific conditions. Human beings will be shown actually floating in the air. In addition, I shall show photographs taken by the late Dr. W.J. Crawford of Belfast, showing the actual means by which the phenomenon takes place, and also how it is that wraps are made by spirits. Dr. Crawford made this study a special item of research for over 9 years, and showed how, although the phenomenon occurred by supernormal means, it was always subject to the Newtonian laws of gravity. Dr. Crawford's theory was that all the phenomenon of levitation and table wraps, etc., were performed by what he called invisible operators, who made psychic cantilevers for raising objects and psychic rods for making wraps. The cantilevers and rods he held were made from ectoplasm, and I have pictures which he took showing the rods actually coming out of the medium's bodies and lifting tables. Dr. Crawford had to experiment for about 4 years before he could get the operators to consent to making the ectoplasm visible. Our particular aim is to present to the Australian public the evidence of the science, while leaving it to them to draw their own deductions. So far as I am personally concerned, I am, of course, on the side of such men as Sir Arthur Oliver Lodge, and hold that all these supernatural phenomena are occasioned by disembodied entities, whom I believe to be disembodied humans. As for ectoplasm,
concluded Mr. Leaf, who is himself a well-known medium,
we know it to be the tissue of the medium's body, broken down into a primordial form, and before the very eyes of the investigators it has been seen to transform itself into tissues corresponding with the tissues of the human body, producing hair, teeth, and other epidermis and true bone. Dr.
And here, I'm sorry, the name of the doctor is too faded to read. A certain doctor,
the well-known scientist, claims indeed that in his case a human finger materialized out of ectoplasm and actually scratched his palm and stroked his hand and wrote a message.
Mr. Leaf, who is accompanied by his wife, is to give his first lecture on Wednesday night. Always interesting to tiptoe through the pages of Trove, and you too can enjoy a couple of hours looking through the pages of Trove at trove.nla.gov.au, and like me, you never know what you might find. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Now, something that's just been brought to my attention today, a letter published in the Echo newspaper. Now, this is the paper around the Byron Bay area, the area in New South Wales with one of the lowest rates of vaccination. And it's known for its alternative lifestyle and so on. And our reporter, Heidi Robertson, lives in that area. And, of course, she's involved with the Northern Rivers vaccination supporters. Anyway, this letter published in the Echo says, "Midwife quits. It's become untenable for me to continue working in hospitals. I have quit. I will be deregistered soon by my own choice. Working with lies and deceit at all levels has led me to despair. I am very good at my job as a midwife. You would want me to take care of you. You would be very safe in my care. The jab," which is in inverted commas, "cannot be called a vaccine. It will kill. And it will make
people very sick with autoimmune disease, which will manifest in many types of diseases. Please do not acquiesce. Signed, Deb Walsh, Fernley. Well, Deb Walsh, I guess it's not a bad thing you've decided to quit, if that's the case. And I'm quite surprised that the editor would let such an outrageous letter be published without any comment or without any reply or rebuttal. But then again, that is the Northern Rivers area of New South Wales, known for its sort of alternative thinking. And we don't know at this stage whether this person is actually real or not. So, further investigation might be called for. And maybe it's a job for Media Watch. That's quite a heavy letter. Anyway, if any developments occur, we'll keep you updated. And don't forget to check out the Northern Rivers vaccination supporters, of course, at nrvs.info. Thank you always to those lovely people, those lovely supporters who support the show via Patreon or PayPal, or, alternatively, by buying one of my digital photography, examples of photography. If you go to skepticzone.tv, scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll see the link to my online store where you can buy a digital copy, download a high-resolution photograph of some of my origami work. It might make a nice addition to a children's bedroom or a Japanese restaurant, or who knows, whatever you want. And that money goes back into helping the Skeptic Zone. Now, just before I go, something a little bit different. The other day, surfing around, looking around YouTube, I came across the account of one Tim Hunkin from the UK, who had a TV show back in the late 80s and the early 90s about how things are made. It's called The Secret Life of Machines, and he talks about how, for example, sewing machines are made, fax machines, how they work, the history of them, washing machines, in the internal combustion engine, light bulbs, telephones, radio. It's absorbing, it's fascinating, it's really well done. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, I've added a link to this week's show notes. Or you can just Google Tim Hunkin, which is Hunkin, and it's just absorbing, fascinating stuff. And I guess in the end, it's good science. And on that note, for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for show notes, contacts, and to access the back catalogue of episodes going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone podcast on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, visit our Facebook page, or leave a review on iTunes. You can also support the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone podcast is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian skeptics or any other skeptical organisation. Hello to the afterthoughts, the people who keep thinking after the music is over, who hang around to play the dice game. Oh yes, 10-sided die usually, and why not today? It's a nice round number. I'm going to roll this lovely translucent blue die 3 times, maybe 4 times. 3 times, and you use your psychic guessing power or dumb luck and see if you can guess what numbers are going to come up. Here we go, the first roll coming up. So it's either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10. And my dice rolling machine, first number is 7. Write that down. Second number coming up, guess away. Number 3. You can play this another way. It's either 7 and a 3 or it's 730 so far. And the last number. Oh, 7. Today's winning numbers are 737, makes me feel like flying, or 737 if you want to look at it that way. And the last number coming up, I'll use a red dice this time. Red die, here we go. Supplementary, so to speak, is 2, or 7,372, or simply 737 and a 2. How did you go?